In today's video, we're going to be talking about the W-4 and tax withholdings. I'll be teaching you how you can dominate your taxes.
Dominating!
In 2018 and beyond. Now this is the first part in a series of videos I'm gonna make around this subject. I've literally spent hours diving into various IRS publications to be able to present the information I'm gonna be showing you today. I'm gonna talk about a few things right now on the whiteboard, then we're gonna look at actual examples on screen to help you understand how your W-4 works and how it affects your tax withholdings versus how much tax you're gonna owe or not owe at the end of the year when it comes to your paycheck. So that's what I wanna talk to you guys about today. Now, unfortunately, this is, if there was one form, if there was one area of tax I wish our school system would cover, this would be it. This is such an important life skill. I don't know if you guys know this, but roughly 90% of the people in the US who work make their living as employees. And even those who are self-employed, a high percentage of them pay themselves wages and have to fill out a W-4 as well. And so we're gonna cover this step by step by step so that you can not only see it from the employee's side, but also from the employer's side as well. Because I really feel that you have to understand how it works from the employer side to understand how the tax is being withheld from your paycheck and how they come up with that number of amount of tax being withheld from each and every paycheck you receive. And if I lose you guys at any point, don't worry, feel free to leave comments in the comment section down below, and I have downloadable materials in the description section right below this video. So make sure you take the time and to check it out. Just real quick, guys, what I'm about to show you is not tax advice, so please don't take it that way, but it is definitely for your entertainment and education, and I think you will learn a lot from this, but always consult with a professional in your area if you have any questions or uncertainties about your taxes. Let's dive into this. Okay, when it comes to your paycheck, there's really two primary methods when it comes to how much federal income tax, and that's what we're talking about here, is how much federal income tax is withheld from each and every time you get a paycheck on payday from your employer. Now there's two ways that's calculated. One way that's calculated is the percentage method. The second way is the wage bracket method tables. Now if this doesn't make sense to you, it's not supposed to, but in a minute I'm gonna show you on screen what they are and how it works. To understand how this all works, guys, you're gonna have to know how it works from the employee side, the employer side, and then from the IRS side. And all three of those pieces are gonna be put together so it all will make sense in the end. And this is just part one of the video series. I'm planning to produce 3 or 4 videos on this series until it's totally done to give you guys a very complete overview like I don't think it's ever been done before on YouTube so that you guys truly understand how this works. So it would mean so much to me, guys, if you comment on these videos, if you like the videos, that will help it rank higher in search and get this information out there to more people. Why are we doing this? There's a couple reasons why. Really, the first reason is for financial planning purposes. If you're gonna be able to save as much money as you can every month and pay off debt as quickly as possible, invest as much as possible, you really have to have a good grasp on how much tax you owe throughout the year or how much tax to withhold from each and every paycheck. Because what I've seen happen, and I made a video about this recently, is in my top 8 tax mistakes that I see happen all the time is if a person is not withholding enough taxes on their paycheck, when it comes to tax time, they can owe tens of thousands, and I've literally seen tens of thousands of dollars owed because they were not withholding enough taxes on their paycheck. The other side of that coin is a person might withhold too much tax from their paycheck, and the money is, if you're withholding too much, and I've seen that too, where people over withhold thousands of dollars that could have been in their pocket, that they could have been using to invest, they could have been using to pay down their debt, saving money, whatever, but instead that money is then trapped with the IRS until they file a tax return, because you can't get that money back until you file. And so in my opinion, I would not give I don't want to give the IRS more money than I need to. I would much rather only have a very small refund, but I also don't want to owe. So that's why we're doing this video series, and so that you understand your W-4. Now, like I said earlier, guys, I really wish this stuff was taught in school. This one would be such a valuable life skill to learn, but unfortunately they do not teach it. And I've been doing public accounting now for about 7 years, and as far as I know, there's no formal education on this. I have not seen it anywhere. If you know where a person can find a formal education on this particular topic, let me know, but I have not seen it. You know, when I was getting my accounting degree at the state university I attended, they didn't cover this at all, or next to very little anyways. And then even when you're going through the process of obtaining your CPA license, which I've done, you don't really cover this stuff in there either. You talk about general tax planning and federal income taxes, but not to this level of detail, not to where it can help the average person. And there's so many people across the entire country that this information could help. So now let's really dive into the details. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. All right, I really hope you guys get something out of this because I put a lot of time into this and you're about to see why. Let's start with just some basics here with your W-4. Luckily, Chipper has been so kind and so open to helping us out. He has actually volunteered to show us his W-4. Chipper, show him your W-4, please.
Yes, sire, at your service.
Okay, so we're gonna go over the actual example that I've put together for you guys of Chipper's W-4 here in just a moment. But there's a couple things I just want to talk to you guys about first. Let's start with your W-4 form itself, which is basically, we're talking about this form right here, as you guys can see. This is what I'm talking about. Now, when you start a new job, you're probably used to getting this. You're gonna get your payroll person or HR person is gonna give you one of these forms and tell you to fill it out. And for most people, and it used to be this way for myself, but it feels like I get like a pop quiz. It feels like when you walk into a classroom, you get a pop quiz and you got to fill it out. And you're like not sure of what the numbers should be on here or how to fill it out just correctly. You just hope when you turn in that pop quiz, you hope you did as good as you could. You give it to your payroll person. They're not sure if the numbers are right, and legally they can't tell you how many allowances to indicate on your W-4 and things like that, because they're not going to be the ones held responsible for your tax situation. They have no liability, and so that is why it's up to us, each individual, to fill this out for ourselves. So the more we know about it, the more accurately we can do that. Now, with the W-4, there's a box, and I'm going to go over this one by one here in just a second. But really what we come down to is figuring out the number of allowances. And so allowances, I want you guys to think about, it's not the allowance your mother or dad pays you when you do your chores, if you're lucky enough to get an allowance, but really allowances refers to deductions. So the more deductions you have, think of allowances as deductions. So when you think about allowances, I want you to think of like tax deductions. So the more tax deductions you have, the less tax we have to pay, right? So the way this works is like this. So the higher the number that we list here under allowances, the less tax is going to be withheld from our paycheck. So the higher the number of the allowances, the less tax is withheld, because we're getting more tax deductions, we're going to owe less. So that's why less is withheld. Now let's reverse this. Let's reverse it. So the fewer number of allowances, the more tax is withheld from our each and every paycheck. So the fewer number of allowances means we have less tax deductions. The more tax has to be withheld from each and every one of our paychecks. So if we put 0 here, it's going to withhold the maximum amount of tax from each and every paycheck. And then on top of that, you see here in box 6, we can even have more withheld if we want to. We can say, I want to claim 0 allowances, but then also withhold another $200 per check or whatever it may be for you. So that's how I would like you guys to interpret and think about allowances. So the next thing I want to go over with you guys real quick is what actually happens after a person fills out their W-4, what actually happens with that? Well, what happens is you give it to your employer, and your employer keeps it on file. And probably 90% of the time or more, this information, this W-4 form, never goes to the IRS. The only time it will go to the IRS is if the IRS specifically requests it, which is very rare, and I have not seen that happen, or I have not heard of that happening. So it's only when the IRS requests it, that's when the employers have to turn it over to them. But most of the time, this is just to give to your company's bookkeeper or payroll person, and then they're going to figure out how much federal income tax, state income tax as well, if you live in a state that has state income tax like California where I live. Well, they're going to look at this information that you filled out, and it's going to determine, it's going to go from this form and then to the payroll person, then it's going to spit out a number of tax withheld on your paycheck, and then your employer remits those taxes to the IRS later on when they file their quarterlies or monthly tax deposits. So that's kind of how that works. So it never goes to the IRS. It's just very rare when that happens. Okay, now I want to show you guys what your employer sees on their end when they're figuring out how much tax to withhold from your paycheck based on your W-4 that you provided them. Okay, so then in order to find that, and like I said earlier, we really have to go understand this from the side of the employer to understand how this all works. There's really not another way I know of how to explain this other than to show you with real examples, and then we're going to go through the full process here. Okay, so this is IRS Publication 15. I want you guys to remember this. IRS Publication 15. This is Circular E. Notice it says Employer's Tax Guide. So this is what your employer is trying to figure out when they're dealing with each employee's taxes. Okay, so then now I'm going to show you. A second ago we talked about it's still on the whiteboard back there, but there's the percentage method, and then there's the wage bracket method tables that we're going to talk about. So let me show you what those are real quick, guys, just so you guys have an understanding, and then of what they are, and then we're going to go through an actual example right after this. So your employer uses these tables, I'm flipping to it real quick, to figure out your taxes. So there's 2 of them in total. So here we go. So if you go to page 46, and all of this, I have links to all of these materials, and all of these materials are directly from the IRS website, except for the spreadsheet I'm going to show you, which I created myself, but you're free. It's downloadable for free. It's just to be used as an educational tool. As you're going to see, it's not to be used for like actual tax planning and tax advice. What I would like you to do with that, when it comes to actually like planning, figuring out what your withholdings should be, I want you to use the IRS calculator on the IRS website. Last month or so, they released the 2018 withholdings calculator. Well, I'll show you guys that in just a minute. Okay, so here's the percentage method tables for income tax withholding. Now, I'm not going to go over this in crazy detail just yet, but basically, once your income gets to a certain point, we can't use the other method. We can't use the wage bracket method. Your employer has to use the percentage method tables for income tax withholding. Now, either way should get you the same result or roughly the same result of withholdings. So, and as you guys can see, what I want to point out real quick is that notice it follows the new tax brackets. So 10%, 12%, 22%. This follows the new 2018 federal income tax brackets. So that's how your withholdings are supposed to keep in line as you get each paycheck throughout the year. When you look at your paycheck stub, that's how you can helps keep you on track of how much you need to withhold throughout the course of the year to be okay and caught up on your taxes. Okay, then so this is what the percentage method tables look like. We're going to go over an example of that in just a minute. The other one, if I flip to it, okay, and here's what the wage bracket method tables for income tax withholdings look like. And there's a lot of different tables, and it covers your different filing statuses. So if you're single, and then first it covers your filing status. So if you're single, you use this one, and if you get paid weekly, you use this one. It also covers, well, let me flip the page. So that continues that. Okay, so then here's for a married person who gets paid weekly. If you keep flipping, then you have a single. If you keep flipping, then we're on single people who file single, but they get paid bi-weekly. Personally, I get paid bi-weekly, so I would use this one. If I were using this method to calculate my withholdings, this is what I would be looking at. Now, like I said, this only covers income so far. Like, it only goes so far down. But this shows, let me show you guys. You see what it says, and your wages are at least this, but less than this. And then these numbers across here determine, like, this is how many exemptions or allowances you're claiming. Not exemptions, I'm sorry. This is how many allowances you're claiming on your W-4. And then by using this information, you're able to determine how much to withhold on your taxes. But I'm going to show you all of this, guys, right now. So let's go over a real example. And I've done multiple calculations, and I've looked this over multiple times to make sure this is correct, and it should be. But if you guys notice anything in my spreadsheet that is incorrect, please let me know. I would love to update it for you guys, and I want it to be always as accurate as possible. Okay, so let's go to Chipper's W-4 now. Here we go. So this is the first page of the W-4, and Chipper has been, like I said, kind enough to let us use his information. So we just put his first name here. He doesn't have a middle initial, and I put last name, the Cockatiel. So Chipper the Cockatiel is his full name. His social security number, we enter that there. We have his home address is 241 Cockatiel Way. City or town is Oncage City. And then he's single, so we mark the single box. If you're married, if a person's married, they might mark one of these, of course. Now, because this doesn't get filed with the IRS, even if you are married, you can still mark this as single, because it doesn't matter. It's just gonna like determine how much is withheld from each of your paychecks. This does not get filed with the IRS. Mine actually is still marked as single, even though I'm married. But I need to update mine now with the new tax bracket, so I'm probably gonna fix that coming up here. But this is, something I need to go do myself, because what's nice is that you should always, I want people to always be thinking about if your income changes, if your filing status changes, if you have children, then these are reasons to consider updating your W-2. Not W-2, but your W-4 on an annual basis. You might want to update your W-4 on an annual basis depending on your situation. Okay, then for Chipper on box 5, we're going to see that he's going to claim two allowances, and we're going to walk through that right now. Just real quick, for some people, they are exempt from withholding income tax. They have an exemption from withholding. That's really for people whose income is so low, like $6,000 or less. Or if a person is already overpaid, has such a large overpayment from the prior year's taxes that they've applied to the current year, then they might not have to have any tax withheld on their check, because they still will owe zero on this year's tax return. So, I'm not really talking about, if you want to learn if you're exempt from withholdings, look at this first section and the instructions. But I don't think most people are. Most people are going to have to withhold tax from their check. And so I'm really talking to the people who need to withhold federal income taxes here, and not people who are exempt. If you're exempt, you probably are going to owe next to nothing in tax anyways. And so that's really not who the video is for. But if you are exempt, you can just follow the instructions in this first part right here, and there's very little to fill out. Okay, now in terms of accuracy, now the IRS basically states regarding this paper form, now there's this paper version of the form, well, we're looking at it electronically here, of the W-4, and then there's the IRS withholdings calculator on the IRS website. Now, which one's more accurate? Well, absolutely, the one on the IRS website, the withholdings calculator is extremely more accurate than this. This is not like far off the beaten path, but it's much easier to, if you have a more complicated tax situation, if you're married, if you have multiple jobs, if you have all these different credits, these tax credits, then don't even bother with this, really. I mean, you're gonna have to fill out the number of allowances and give this first part to your employer, but use the IRS withholdings calculator all the way. It will save you so much time because all the calculations are built within it. And so let's keep walking down this example here, guys. So Chipper has two allowances. So how do we come up with that? We'll go down here. Let's go to the second page, or the third page, I should say. Personal allowances worksheet. So Chipper is going to enter one for himself because it's just him. And then, so it says B, if you file as married filing jointly. No, he doesn't. Enter one if you file as head of household. Well, Chipper is not a head of household. It says enter one here if you're single or married filing separately and have only one job. That is Chipper. So he's single and he only has one job. So we're going to put a 1 on D. And so then we're going to go to the line. He doesn't apply for the box, or this part with section E. He doesn't get the child tax credit because he has no children. Credit for other dependents. He does not have any other dependents, so there's nothing there. Other credits. He doesn't have any other credits to apply for. So his is easy. So we go down to line H and we add up lines A through G, and we enter the total here. So that's 2. So that's where this 2 is coming from. So now that 2 is placed right here on line 5 on the W-4, and that's how many allowances he's going to show the employer. All right, so that's, you guys follow me there? I'm hoping you follow me so far. Now let's go back down to that worksheet. Now, if honestly, like there's this next section of deductions, adjustments, and additional income worksheet, I don't even bother with this section. I would just, if you want to get like that detailed, then I would just go to the IRS withholdings calculator on their website and use that. I would stop here. So like right as I got to here, if it became more complicated than this, I would stop completely and go straight to the withholdings calculator. But if you don't have a complicated tax situation, then pages 1 through 3 of this document will suffice. I'll leave a link to this document below so you have it, just in case you ever, it's easy to find. You just Google it, 2018 W-4, if you ever need to find it. Okay, so now you see this number 2 in allowances. Now Chipper is going to now turn in this W-4 to his employer. But what does that 2 mean? The two actually helps the like I said, the payroll person with determining how much tax to withhold. So now your employer, the Chipper's employer, gets this W-4. They, as far as I don't know of any employer who's not using payroll tax software. In the real world, that's how it's done. I have not seen anybody use the actual withholding tables that we looked at a second ago in the PDF document on IRS Pub 15. I have not seen people using that. It would be much too complicated and much too time consuming. So employers use software, and so they go and drop this information into their payroll software, and the payroll software determines how much tax to withhold out of every paycheck. But the payroll software is programmed with the percentage method and the wage bracket method, so it knows all that stuff is built into the software. But that's how it knows to calculate that tax. So now we're going to actually look at a real calculation of how, when Chipper gets his paycheck, how it all flows out. So let's look at my Word document now on screen. I'm going to pull that up for you guys right now, and I'm going to walk through one example. I've given you 3 examples in all, but for sake of time, I'm only going to cover one in detail, just so I can walk you guys through how this works and how it would affect Chipper's paycheck. Okay, so here we are, guys. This is the spreadsheet I've put together. This, like I said, I would not use this to estimate your taxes. It's not designed for that. Use the IRS W-4 withholdings calculator. All right, so in this first example, we're at single monthly, okay? So this is Chipper's paycheck. He's single, and he gets paid once a month, okay? Only once a month that he's get a paycheck. And I've included down here, as you can see, if you're single and get paid bi-weekly, and I've included one example if a person's married, if they get paid monthly. So let's walk through this, and then we're going to compare the numbers on this spreadsheet to the actual IRS withholdings calculator and what it comes up with versus what's on the spreadsheet. And I'll show you guys how this actually works. This is how allowances work when it comes to your W-4. The real deal here, guys. Okay. So basic withholdings calculator. In all of these examples, we're going to be using the percentage method to calculate your tax withholdings. But in this first example, I'll show you both. I'll show you how we would get to the same result with the wage bracket tables as well as the percentage of the completion method. All right, so this is Chipper. So his filing status is single, right? We know he's single. He's single and ready to mingle. How often is Chipper paid? Well, he's paid monthly. We know that Chipper's paid monthly. That's very important. And then what is Chipper's projected taxable wages? Now, when it comes to planning our W-4, we have to project our taxable wages. Now, in the next part of this series, I'm going to give you guys a downloadable spreadsheet I'm going to cover with you of how to best project your taxable wages. It is so important. It is the leading factor of this whole calculation is your projected taxable wages. So that's why in the second part of this series, I'm just going to cover that, of how to project them. But let's continue down this way. So we're going to assume that Chipper makes like $45,000 a year, and that's right around the median income of the average single person in the United States. It's right around $40,000 annually. So, but he's at $45,000. So remember, on his W-4, we put that he had 2 allowances. So now we're going to actually see what that means and how it all plays out. And I've included some snippets and some screenshots from this stuff is from IRS Publication 15. This is actually in that publication, but so you can see all the information on the screen in one place, I just have snipped part of this right here, and now so you can see how this works. So the numbers highlighted in yellow indicate numbers that came from the IRS Publication 15. And so let's walk through this right now. All right, so we know that Chipper, he projects that for 2018, he's going to make $45,000 total of taxable wages. So after his 401k and everything, he projects he's going to make $45,000 in taxable wages. So then we look at the number of pay periods per year. And let me zoom in a little bit here for you guys so you can see this better. There we go. So he gets paid once a month, right? He gets paid monthly. So that means there's 12 paychecks in a year. That's simple math. So if we divide 45,000 divided by 12, that means in taxable wages, he's roughly getting $3,750 per check. So this is the projected taxable wages divided by number of pay periods. Okay, so the amount per check, as you guys can see, is this amount right here, right? $3,750. That's what we're projecting. So now let's take into account how those personal income tax allowances affect this calculation. So here's the real numbers and how it works behind the scenes that people never see unless they're really digging into the detail. Okay, number of personal allowances. We said 2, right? So then there is actually a table in IRS Publication 15 that tells you how much each allowance is worth. That's right. Each allowance has a certain dollar value assigned to it. So over here, I've taken this out of the pub. This is percentage method 2018, amount for one withholding allowance. So for each withholding allowance, if you get paid monthly, which Chipper does, Chipper gets paid monthly, he makes each allowance is $345.80. So $345.80. Let's go back over here. So remember though, Chipper had 2 allowances. So we take 2 times $345.80. So total allowances is $691.60 in terms of a dollar value. So now we come over here, follow my mouse cursor please, and notice I have minus $691.60. So what you do is we take the amount of wages per paycheck minus the allowances of $691. So that means that of the wages he makes, $3,058.40 is actually subject to federal income tax withholdings. Okay. And then now we have to look at the excess over per table 4. So this deals with the wage percentage method, okay? There are the percentage method for calculating your withholdings. So where does that number come from? Well, remember earlier I showed you all those different the worksheets within Publication 15. Well, here's from the IRS Publication 15. We're looking at Table 4. This is for people who are single and get paid monthly. Well, if their income, it says income is over 11. Down here now we look at income is over $1,102, but not over $3,033. Well, that's where we're at here because the income subject to withholdings is between that at $3,058.40. Okay, so then there's a fixed amount of tax as $79.40 plus 12% of the amount over $1,102. So this $1,102 is coming from right here. Boom, right there. That's where this comes from. So now we take the amount of wages subject to withholding, we subtract the $1,102, and we get $1,956.40. Well, that excess amount over that is now multiplied by the 12%, and the 12% is right here. That's where this is coming from. So that means right there from the percentage method, we know we have to have at least $234.77 in withholdings. Okay? Now, I know that's a lot of information to take in, so if you need to rewind the video just to watch that again real quickly, please feel free to do so, but I'm going to keep moving forward, and you're going to see how this all comes out together here in the end. We're just about done now. So now, there's a fixed amount of withholdings. It's $79.40. So here's the $79.40. It's all right here. So this is why I put these visuals in here, because I didn't want you guys searching all over the place for this information. But it's all in IRS Publication 15. So now we take the $234 from here, and we add the $79.40 from right here. And so the total average federal tax withholdings per check for chipper is going to be $314.16. Okay? So each and every paycheck, chipper is going to have that much tax withheld, $314.16. And now we know that chipper is going to get paid 12 times a year, right? Well, now we multiply this withholdings amount times 12. So the total projected federal tax withholdings for the year for chipper is going to be $3,770.02. So now let's do a quick, rough comparison of what that amount compares to on the IRS website with using the withholdings calculator. So like I said, in the third part of this series, I'll show you in detail how the IRS withholdings calculator works. But for now, I'm just going to show you a really quick example. So we're going to come here to irs.gov. We're going to go down to the W-4 calculator right here. Click on that. And then if you want the actual W-4 form we were looking at a minute ago, that's where you find it. And then see where it says IRS withholdings calculator? That's what we want. That is what we want to use to project our withholdings, or to calculate our withholdings. Whoops. There we go. And then if you scroll down here, you're going to find the actual withholdings calculator. I'm going to click on that. And it's going to take us to this screen right here. Let me zoom in because I know that's hard to read. A couple questions that we're going to fly through real quick. It says, what is your filing status on your 2018 income tax return? We know it's single for chipper. But single, can someone else claim you as a dependent? We know, and we're going to hit continue. It's going to take us to this screen. It says, select the total number of jobs in which you are currently or will be employed. It says enter military, retirement pay, or taxable pensions as additional separate jobs. So we know chipper only has one job in this example. All the rest of this, like I said, I'll go in detail on another time. So we don't need to fill out any more of this at all for right now. Because you can see, it gets into the tax credits. It gets into if you're 65 or older, earned income tax credit if you qualify for that. We're skipping all that. We'll go over that in part 3. Okay, let's hit continue. Now, this is where we actually enter our projected taxable wages, which is why I think it's so important to have a firm grasp on what your projected taxable wages are going to be for the year, because everything else is factored into that. Everything else is derived from those wages. So all the calculations don't matter if that number's wrong. So you want to get that number right, which is why we're going to look at that in part 2. Okay, so we're going to drop in. It says enter the gross wages, salaries, and tips you expect to receive in 2018. Now for chipper, we know that's $45,000, right? That's the example we just looked at. Any bonuses for chipper? No, none. It says enter the total federal income tax withheld to date on the paycheck. Well, we're going to assume, I don't really care about that right now. I just want to know in total what it would be for the full year. So I'm going to put 0 here. And you have to put, see here has an asterisk here. You have to put a 0. I'm going to put a 0 in right here. And then it says select how frequently you're paid. Well, we're going to say monthly, because chipper is paid once a month, right? In our example, non-wage income. This is if you have like dividends, interest, or other kinds of income. If you have unemployment compensation, we're skipping all that. It's not going to impact our example here. Now I'm going to hit continue, and then now it automatically takes into account the standard deduction. But if you itemize, you can put itemized deductions here. We're going to assume that chipper gets the standard deduction, so there's nothing else that I need to do here. So I'm just going to hit continue. And it's going to spit out our result. Here we go. It says, based on your responses, your anticipated income tax for 2018 is $3,070. It says, based on your responses, your anticipated income tax for 2018 is $3,773. It says, to meet your anticipated tax of $3,773, change your current withholding arrangement by 0 allowances plus an additional $423. And the reason it's saying that is because it knows that we're in the month of April when I'm filming this, so it assumes that we only have 8 pay periods left. But the thing I want to point out here, guys, is that this is the number I want you to look at. Based on your projected taxable wages, this is how much tax, federal income tax, you have to withhold to be fully paid in by the time you have to file your tax return during the following year by the April 15th. So this is the number we care about. So as long as our total withholdings from our paychecks add up to that amount, we're good. We're going to owe zero tax. That's what we want. If we withhold more than that, if we withhold $4,000, well, we're going to get a refund when we file our tax return for 2018. If we withhold less than that number, guess what's going to happen? We're going to owe money. We're going to have to owe money when we file a tax return. So we want to be as accurately as possible with our withholdings. And really the ideal tax result is zero. You don't want to really owe money, and you don't want to have a huge refund. Now, I'm okay being a little overpaid because I don't want to end up owing money, but the perfect tax result is owing zero and getting a zero refund, because that means you're withholding exactly enough tax throughout the year so that you know you're good. You don't have to think about it. Another reason I really wanted to talk to you guys about this topic is I don't want people to stress about their taxes throughout the entire year. So the more I can do to help you guys with that, the better off you'll be, and the less stress you'll have, and the more, better quality of life you'll have. And now let's look at, so we saw this is what our projected tax is going to be. Now let's look at that example on the spreadsheet, and I'll prove to you guys that my spreadsheet's accurate right now. So let's go over here, back to my spreadsheet. And so based on this worksheet, we projected that our total projected federal tax withholdings for the year would be $3,770. That's how much tax we've paid in, okay? That's how much tax Chipper has paid in this example. Then from the IRS website, we just looked at how much tax we're actually going to owe, and they said $377.3. So our worksheet here is only off by $3. So in this example, Chipper would owe $3 when he went to file his taxes, which is chump change, means we are extremely accurate in terms of projecting what our withholdings need to be. And that's how it works, guys, from start to finish. That's how this calculation is done. That's how it's done behind the scenes. This is what people don't see. This is how it's actually being calculated. Now, like I said, this is really just for your education and entertainment. Don't use this to project your taxes. Use the IRS withholdings calculator. In the next part, we're going to go dive into detail and take a professional approach to projecting your taxable wages and how to do that. And all these spreadsheets are completely free. You can download them in the description section down below this video. And so make sure to check it out. I know this video is long, guys, but that's why I've included timestamps. But I've really wanted to give you a full overview of how this is calculated, because I could not find this information anywhere on the internet. And as a person who went through school to obtain a bachelor's in accounting and who's obtained their CPA license, this is not something that's covered. Now, just real quickly, so we see that based on this analysis, we learned that each paycheck, Chipper is going to have $314 withheld from each and every paycheck. But this was using the percentage method. What if we use the table method? What if we use the wage bracket table method? Okay, guys, real quickly, last but not least, I want to show you what if we use the other method. What if to calculate Chipper's withholdings, the wage bracket method tables for income tax withholding? Well, this is how it would play out. So here's so Chipper is a single person. He gets paid monthly. Remember, on his W-4, he said he had 2 allowances. Well, his wages were between this and this. And so what we do is we take our finger, come over here like this, and then come down from the 2 allowances column, come down here, and that is his exact withholdings amount using this method. As it's the exact same as it was using the table method, or the percentage method here, sorry, the percentage method. So it's either way you do it, it's exactly the same results, or should be the same, or right around the same. But, all right, guys, well, I hope you found this information helpful. I know this is a long video. It was intended to be long because I really wanted to walk you through the entire thing, so that, they really should teach this stuff in school, because I think it's so important for a person to know how their taxes are being withheld from their paycheck, okay? It's really important for me, and I'm sure it's important to you to know how much money to pay in versus how much money you're able to keep for yourself, so you can invest more, pay down your debt, whatever it may be, or save more money. It's much better I think it's much better that we have our money versus giving it all to the IRS and overpaying and things like that. But we also don't want to be greatly overpaid. So that's why I wanted to walk you through this example. If you click on the other examples, it's the same kind of scenario. I'll let you guys work through these yourself so you can fully understand it, of how I got my numbers. but it's all there. It's exactly there, and it's all made up through the IRS Publication 15 and this spreadsheet, like I said, which is downloadable for free. All right, guys. Well, that is all the information I have for you today. If you're brand new to this channel, I just want to say welcome. I know this is usually my videos aren't this long, but when you come to this channel, I've been able to help hundreds of people throughout the country with their taxes, investments, finances, etc. Those are the kinds of videos that I produce here on this channel on a weekly basis. So if you're really looking to improve in those areas, learn more about taxes and things like that, then I would strongly suggest you subscribe to our channel. And please definitely subscribe to our channel to not miss any of our weekly videos in this series, because I have at least 2 more parts coming out to give you a full overview and to help you truly learn how to plan your withholdings for your personal tax situation to the best of my ability of what I can do here over YouTube, and so that you can always be on top of your taxes and not worried about whether you're paying in enough or not paying in enough throughout the course of the year at your job. All right, guys, I love you. Thank you so much. If you stuck with me this long, I appreciate it so much. You guys are a wonderful audience. I'm so thankful to have you, and it's so nice to be able to interact with you guys. So it means so much to me when you guys drop a like and leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. And I really hope you found this helpful. I spent hours pulling this information together, and honestly, I learned so much more personally pulling this information together, because like I said, there's nowhere else out there that you can get this information that I know of other than diving into the details yourself and seeing how this all works behind the scenes. With that being said, make sure to share this information with a friend. Make sure you drop a like, guys. I love y'all. Peace.
It's not my